Captain Jack Mason stared at the alien message on the big screen. His hands gripped the edge of the control panel until his knuckles turned white. Around him, the bridge of the U.S. Defiant, Earth's last working military ship, fell silent. No one dared to speak as the alien's cold, multi-tone voice finished its speech. You have 30 Earth days to surrender your planet's resources. After that time, we will destroy what remains of your civilization. There will be no further warnings. The screen went black. For a moment, only the soft beeping of the ship's systems broke the silence. Play it again, Mason ordered, his voice rough. He ran a hand through his short gray hair, looking older than his 45 years. Lieutenant Amy Parker, the communications officer, nodded and tapped her screen. The alien appeared again, tall, with blue-gray skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Its mouth moved strangely as it spoke, like the words didn't match its lips. This time, Mason watched the crew's faces instead of the message. Fear, anger, defeat. The same emotions that had been cycling through his own mind since the Stellar Coalition had first appeared in Earth's skies 2 weeks ago. Their first attack had been swift and deadly. In less than 6 hours, they had destroyed every major military base on the planet. The world's navies now lay at the bottom of the oceans. Air forces were reduced to burning scrap. Land armies scattered and broken. The Defiant had survived only because it had been underwater during the initial attack, testing a new stealth system. Even so, the ship had taken damage. They were limping along with half-working engines and weapons that probably couldn't hurt a Coalition rowboat, if aliens even had such things. "Sir," Parker said after the message ended again, "we're being called to an emergency meeting. All surviving military leaders. The president will be there." Mason nodded. "Tell them we're on our way." The meeting took place in an underground bunker beneath what was left of Washington, D.C. representatives from countries around the world sat around a large table, their faces lit by the harsh white lights overhead. Many joined through video links, their images flickering on screens around the room. President Williams looked like she hadn't slept in days. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, "I won't waste time. We need options." General Roberts, the highest-ranking military officer still alive, stood up. His uniform was still dusty from the rescue operation that had pulled him from the ruins of the Pentagon. "Madam President, I've reviewed all our remaining military capabilities," he said. His voice was flat, emotionless. "We cannot win this fight. The Coalition's technology is at least a century ahead of ours. Their ships have shields that our weapons can't penetrate. Their weapons cut through our strongest armor like it's paper." "So you're suggesting surrender?" asked the Chinese representative, her face hard on the video screen. "I'm suggesting reality," Roberts replied. "We've lost 85% of our military power. What remains isn't enough to defend a small city, let alone the planet." The room erupted in angry voices. Mason sat quietly, watching. He had been invited as the captain of Earth's last naval vessel, but he wasn't a high-ranking officer. Not until 2 weeks ago, when everyone above him had died. Before the invasion, he had been a salvage expert, brought into the Navy to help reuse old equipment during budget cuts. Salvage, taking broken things and making them useful again. An idea began to form in his mind. A crazy, impossible idea. "Excuse me," he said, standing up. No one noticed at first, until President Williams held up her hand for silence. "Captain Mason has the floor," she said. Mason cleared his throat. "The general is right that we can't win with what we have now. But maybe we don't need to use what we have. Maybe we need to build something new." "Build what?" Roberts asked, frowning. "We don't have time to develop new technology." "Not develop. Steal." Mason pointed to the screen showing images of downed Coalition ships. "Every time they attack us, they leave pieces behind. Their ships crash. Parts fall off. What if we could use those parts? Use alien technology we don't understand?" The Russian representative scoffed. "We don't need to understand all of it," Mason argued. Just enough to make it work. Look, before I joined the Navy, I ran a salvage operation in the Pacific. My team and I could take apart ships from a dozen different countries and put them back together in new ways. President Williams leaned forward. What exactly are you suggesting, Captain? I'm suggesting we build our own warship, using coalition tech mixed with our own. Something they've never seen before because no one would be crazy enough to try it. Mason's eyes lit up as he spoke, the plan taking shape in his mind. They think in straight lines. Everything perfect and planned. But humans? We're messy. We improvise. We take what's broken and make it work again. Even if this were possible, General Roberts said slowly, we'd need a team, resources, a secure location. I have people I trust. Engineers, mechanics, people who can think outside the box. Mason pulled out his tablet and opened a map. And I know the perfect spot. The Pacific Ship Graveyard. It's remote, filled with materials we can use, and the Coalition hit it early in their attack, so they probably won't look there again. The room fell silent as everyone considered his words. Mason could see the doubt on their faces, but he could also see something else, a tiny spark of hope. President Williams took a deep breath. This plan is unorthodox. With respect, Madam President, Mason said, Orthodox got most of our military killed. We need something the Coalition won't expect. After a long pause, she nodded. How many people do you need? 50. The best engineers and technicians still alive. And permission to use whatever resources we can find. You'll have it. But Captain, she fixed him with a steady gaze, you understand what's at stake here. Mason thought of his home in Nevada, now just a crater. Of his brother's family, missing since the first attack. Of Earth. Yes, Madam President. I do. 3 days later, Mason stood on the deck of a rusty cargo ship, looking out at the Pacific Ship Graveyard. Once, it had been where old vessels came to be taken apart. Now, it was also filled with the smoking remains of Earth's Navy and several downed Coalition craft. Beside him stood Dr. Emma Reynolds, a thin woman with wild red hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She had been fired from NASA 5 years ago for experiments deemed too risky. Now her expertise in propulsion systems might save the world. You really think we can build a warship from this junk? She asked, gesturing at the field of wreckage spread out before them. Mason pulled a piece of twisted metal from a nearby pile. It was part of a Coalition ship, its surface covered in strange markings that seemed to glow faintly. Their stuff still works even when it's broken, he said. That gives us an advantage they don't expect. Tom Rivera, a former black market tech dealer who now served as Mason's second-in-command, joined them. Teams ready to start salvage operations, Captain. Mason nodded, looking at the determined faces of his makeshift crew. Most weren't military. They were engineers, mechanics, hackers, people who knew how to make do with what they had. 27 days, he said. That's how long we have to build a warship that can save Earth. He held up the alien fragment. Let's show these Coalition bastards what humans can do with a pile of junk and a deadline. The morning sun glinted off the thousands of metal pieces scattered across the Pacific Ship Graveyard. For the past 5 days, Mason's team had worked nonstop, sorting through wreckage and salvaging anything useful. Their makeshift camp buzzed with activity as people carried parts, welded metal, and tested equipment. We need more power cells, Emma Reynolds said, wiping sweat from her forehead. She pointed to a diagram on her tablet. The Coalition ships use some kind of energy source I'd never seen before. It's like a battery, but it never seems to run out. Mason nodded, looking at the strange blue glowing cylinder they had pulled from a downed alien fighter. How many do we need? At least 5 more of the big ones to power the main systems. Mason turned to Rivera. Take Team B and check the northern section. There was a larger Coalition ship that went down there. Rivera nodded and gathered his team. As they left, Mason watched Dr. Reynolds examining the alien power cell with a mix of frustration and wonder. "Something wrong?" he asked. "Everything about their technology is weird," she said. "It's not just advanced. It's like they think differently than we do." She tapped the power cell. "Look at this. No visible connectors, no radiation, no heat. But it powers systems 10 times more efficiently than our best tech." Mason picked up the cylinder, feeling its slight vibration. "Can you make it work with our systems?" Emma smiled, the kind of smile that made Mason think of a kid with a new toy. "Oh, I'll make it work. I just might blow us all up the first few times I try." By the end of the first week, they had the basic outline of a ship. It wasn't pretty. A skeletal frame cobbled together from Earth Navy vessels, with alien components grafted onto it like strange metal tumors. But it was taking shape. Lisa Wong, their chief engineer, had created a central command area using the bridge from a destroyed aircraft carrier. Screens salvaged from both human and alien vessels lined the walls, displaying a mix of English text and strange coalition symbols. "We figured out their basic communication frequencies," Lisa explained as Mason inspected the bridge. "They use a kind of quantum entanglement for instant messaging across long distances. We can't replicate it, but we can tap into it. Listen." She pressed a button, and the room filled with the strange musical language of the coalition. "Can we understand what they're saying?" Mason asked. "Working on it, but we can track their ships using these signals." As if on cue, an alarm sounded. One of the technicians called out, "Coalition patrol ship approaching. ETA 3 minutes." Mason's heart raced. Everyone to emergency positions. Shut down all non-essential systems. The team had practiced this drill, knowing discovery would mean death. Lights went out. Power systems hummed to silence. Workers scrambled to hide under tarps and debris. From his position, Mason watched the sky. A sleek silver craft appeared, its smooth hull reflecting the sun as it glided over the graveyard. It was beautiful in a cold, deadly way. The ship moved slowly, sensors scanning the area. Mason held his breath as it passed directly overhead. For a terrible moment, the ship paused. Then, with a faint whine, it continued on its patrol route and disappeared over the horizon. Slowly, the team emerged from hiding. "That was too close," Rivera said, joining Mason. "We need better camouflage." Mason nodded, an idea forming. "Or we need to look like something they've already dismissed as harmless." The next day, Mason ordered the team to disguise their operation as a refugee camp. They erected tents and set up small fires, making it appear like survivors had gathered among the wreckage to salvage basic supplies. When coalition ships passed over, the workers pretended to be civilians, looking scared and disorganized. The disguise worked. Coalition patrols noted the camp but categorized it as non-threatening. Meanwhile, beneath tarps and inside the shells of broken ships, the real work continued. Emma made a breakthrough on the 10th day. "I've figured out how their shields work," she announced during the evening meeting. The team gathered around as she held up what looked like a flat silver disc. "They don't just block attacks, they absorb the energy and redirect it." "Can we build our own?" Mason asked. "Not exactly like theirs, but..." Emma's eyes sparkled with excitement. "I think we can make something better, something they won't expect." She showed them her plans, a hybrid shield system that combined coalition energy-absorbing technology with Earth's radar jamming systems. It won't stop a direct hit from their biggest weapons, but it will confuse their targeting systems and absorb enough energy to give us a fighting chance. "How soon can you have a prototype?" Mason asked. 3 days. "Maybe 2 if I don't sleep." "Take 3, Mason said firmly. "We need you alert." On day 14, disaster struck. Rivera's team was exploring a mostly intact coalition scout ship when its self-defense systems suddenly activated. A burst of energy shot out, severely injuring 2 workers and alerting nearby coalition forces. "Patrol incoming. Multiple ships. Lisa shouted from the command center. Mason ran to the wounded men, helping carry them to safety. Everyone underground. Now, the team had built shelters beneath the wrecked ships, connected by tunnels. As coalition ships swarmed overhead, they huddled in darkness, listening to the whine of alien engines. "They'll find the work we've done," Rivera whispered, his face pale. "It's over." "No," Mason said firmly. "We prepared for this." When the first coalition troops landed to investigate, they found what appeared to be an empty camp recently abandoned. The partial ship frame Mason's team had been building was covered with other debris, looking like just another pile of wreckage. The aliens searched for nearly an hour, then left, apparently satisfied that the energy burst had simply been a system malfunction in the damaged scout ship. When the team finally emerged from hiding, they found something unexpected. The coalition troops had left the scout ship behind, apparently considering it too damaged to salvage. "It's mostly intact," Emma said, running her hands over the alien vessel's hull. "Engine, weapons, navigation." Mason smiled. "Get it underground. Now." By the end of the third week, the shape of their warship had changed completely. Using the coalition scout ship as a core, they had built outward, adding Earth tech where needed but keeping the alien systems as the heart. "It's working," Emma said with tired amazement as the ship's main power came online for the first time. Lights flickered across the makeshift bridge. Screens lit up. A gentle hum filled the air as the hybrid systems synchronized. Rivera looked at the readouts. Power at 60% and holding steady. No detectable emissions that would give us away. He turned to Mason with the first real smile anyone had seen on his face in weeks. "We might actually pull this off." Mason walked around the bridge, touching the mismatched panels and jury-rigged controls. It wasn't pretty. Exposed wires ran along walls. Earth keyboards sat next to alien touch panels. But it worked. "What should we call her?" Lisa asked. Mason thought for a moment, looking at the ship they had built from broken pieces and desperate hope. "Phoenix," he said. "We'll call her Phoenix." As if responding to its name, the ship's lights brightened slightly. 7 days remained until the coalition's deadline. Their impossible warship was taking flight. All systems ready for power test, Emma called out from her station. 6 days remained until the coalition's deadline, and the Phoenix was nearly complete. Mason stood in the center of the bridge, looking at the nervous faces of his crew. Everything they had built over the past weeks came down to this moment. If the ship's systems couldn't work together, they had no chance against the coalition. "Begin the test," Mason ordered. Emma nodded and pressed a sequence of buttons. The lights dimmed momentarily, then came back brighter. A low hum filled the ship as power flowed through the hybrid systems. "Main power at 30%, Emma reported. 40%. 50. The screens around the bridge flickered to life, showing a mix of Earth readouts and alien symbols. Lisa worked quickly at her station, translating the alien text. "Shields online," she said. "Weapons systems charging." Rivera monitored the power flow. 60%. 70. A small tremor ran through the ship. Mason steadied himself against a console. "What was that?" Emma frowned at her readings. "Power fluctuation. The coalition systems are drawing more energy than expected." "Can you stabilize it?" "Working on it." Her fingers flew over the controls. 80%. 85. The tremors grew stronger. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. "Something's wrong," Rivera said urgently. "The power systems aren't harmonizing." Before Emma could respond, a surge of energy ripped through the ship. Sparks flew from consoles. The lights flashed blinding white, then went dark. Mason was thrown to the floor as a massive boom echoed through the hull. When he got to his feet, emergency lights bathed the bridge in dim red. Smoke filled the air. "Report," he shouted. "Is everyone okay?" Lisa emerged from beneath her damaged console, coughing. "I'm all right." Engine rooms hit bad. Rivera's voice came through the static-filled communicator. 3 injured. We need medics down here. Mason helped Emma up from where she had fallen. What happened? Her face was streaked with soot, her expression devastated. Power feedback loop. The alien technology. It's designed to work in harmony. Our Earth systems disrupted the flow. She looked at the darkened screens. We've blown half the power relays. We're set back days, maybe more. Mason felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. Days they didn't have. 2 hours later, the damage assessment was complete. The Phoenix's main power grid was fried. 3 crew members were in the medical bay with burns and electrical injuries. The weapons systems were offline. The leadership team gathered in what remained of the bridge. Can we fix it? Mason asked. Emma rubbed her tired eyes. Yes, but not quickly. We need to rewire the entire power distribution system. The coalition technology is more sensitive than I realized. How long? At least 4 days. Maybe 5. 5 days. The deadline would arrive before they were ready. Lisa looked up suddenly from her tablet. Captain, I'm picking up increased coalition communications. A lot of activity. Put it on speaker. The strange musical language of the aliens filled the room. Though they couldn't understand the words, the urgent tone was clear. They're excited about something, Lisa said, studying the translation algorithms she'd been developing. I'm getting fragments, energy spike, unusual readings. Mason's blood ran cold. The power surge. They detected it. Rivera checked the radar. Multiple signals approaching. Fast. Mason made a split-second decision. Prepare for emergency launch. Launch. Emma stared at him. Jack, the ship isn't ready. We're out of time. If we stay here, they'll find us for sure. He turned to the crew. Get all essential personnel on board. Everyone else evacuates to the backup location. The systems aren't stable. Emma protested. Then we'll have to stabilize them in flight. Mason said grimly. Rivera, get down to engineering. Do what you can to get us partial power. As the crew rushed to their stations, Mason helped evacuate the non-essential personnel. Scientists, support staff, and injured crew members were loaded onto small boats to be taken to a hidden cave system several miles away. Lisa monitored the approaching coalition ships. 5 minutes until they're in visual range. Status. Mason called to Emma as he returned to the bridge. Partial power restored. Engines at 40%. Shields at 20%. She didn't look up from her frantic work. Weapons offline. It'll have to do. All stations, prepare for launch. The ship shuddered as the makeshift engines came to life. Years of salvage work had taught Mason that sometimes things had to break completely before they could be fixed right. He just hoped the Phoenix would hold together long enough. Coalition ships entering visual range, Lisa warned. Launch now, Mason ordered. With a groan of straining metal, the Phoenix rose from its hiding place. Pieces of camouflage tarp fell away as the ungainly vessel broke free of the water. Its hull was a patchwork of Earth Navy gray and Coalition silver, with exposed wiring and hastily welded plates covering gaps. They've spotted us, Lisa reported. 3 Coalition scout ships changing course to intercept. Mason took his place in the captain's chair. Full power to engines. Get us into the cloud cover. The Phoenix climbed awkwardly into the sky, trailing small bits of debris as loosely attached components shook in the acceleration. The Coalition scouts followed, their sleek forms cutting through the air with perfect precision. They're charging weapons, Lisa called out. Evasive maneuvers. Mason ordered. Rivera's voice came through the comm from engineering. The engines can't take hard turns yet. The first shot from a Coalition ship flashed past them, a beam of intense blue energy that missed by meters. Return fire, Mason ordered. Weapons still offline, Emma replied, working frantically at her station. Another shot hit the Phoenix's side. The ship shuddered, but held together. Shields at 15%, Lisa reported. One more direct hit, and we're done. Mason's mind raced. They couldn't outrun the coalition ships. They couldn't fight back. But maybe. Emma, is the EMP device operational? Her head snapped up. The prototype. It's barely been tested. Can you activate it? She hesitated for just a second before nodding. Rerouting emergency power now. The EMP device had been Emma's side project, a weapon designed to disrupt coalition systems without destroying them. It used their own technology against them, creating a pulse that would overload their sensitive power networks. Coalition ships closing to finish us, Lisa warned. Firing range in 10 seconds. Charging EMP. Emma called. 5 seconds. 4, 3. The lead coalition ship fired again. The beam struck the Phoenix directly. Shields failing. Lisa shouted. Now, Emma. Emma slammed her hand down on the activation control. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a wave of invisible energy pulsed out from the Phoenix in all directions. The coalition ships faltered. Their lights flickered and died. Their engines sputtered and failed. All three began dropping from the sky like stones. It worked. Emma cried in disbelief. The Phoenix wasn't unaffected. More systems went dark as the pulse hit their own alien components, but the Earth technology, cruder and more resilient, kept the essential systems running. The nearest ship is going down 2 miles east, Lisa reported. Minimal damage to its hull. Mason saw their opportunity. Set course to intercept. Prepare a boarding party. As the Phoenix limped toward the fallen coalition scout, Mason felt a glimmer of hope for the first time in weeks. They had just taken down 3 enemy ships without firing a single conventional shot. Maybe, just maybe, this crazy plan could actually work. The Phoenix hovered near the downed coalition scout ship. It had crashed in a shallow part of the ocean, its sleek silver hull now half submerged in water. Mason led the boarding party himself, taking Emma, Rivera, and 4 others with combat experience. Remember, Mason told the team as they prepared to board, we need information more than we need a fight. Get to their command center and download whatever you can. They crossed to the alien vessel on a makeshift bridge extended from the Phoenix. The coalition ship's entry hatch had been damaged in the crash, allowing them to pry it open manually. Inside, emergency lights cast an eerie blue glow through the corridors. This way, Emma whispered, following readings on her tablet. Power core and main systems should be straight ahead. They moved carefully through the ship, weapons ready. The layout was strange. Corridors curved in unexpected ways, and doors seemed to appear and disappear depending on the angle you viewed them from. Where's the crew? Rivera asked, looking around nervously. Mason was wondering the same thing. Stay alert. They found their answer in the command center. 3 coalition aliens lay unconscious at their stations. They were tall and thin, with 4-fingered hands, and the same blue-gray skin Mason had seen in transmissions. The EMP must have affected them somehow, Emma said, examining one of the aliens from a safe distance. Their suits have some kind of tech built in. Maybe life support. Will they wake up? Mason asked. Eventually, I think. But we have time. Emma and Lisa got to work on the ship's systems. The alien technology responded to their touch surprisingly well, almost as if it was designed to be intuitive to any species. I'm in, Emma announced after several minutes. Their database is vast. Her eyes widened as she scrolled through information. Jack, look at this. Mason leaned over her shoulder. The screen showed what appeared to be a map of the coalition fleet positions. Dozens of ships surrounded Earth, with one massive vessel at the center. That has to be their command ship, Mason said. The Dominion, according to these labels. Lisa was working at another console. I'm finding something interesting in their communications, she said. There seems to be disagreement among the coalition species. Disagreement. Mason moved to her station. From what I can translate, not all of the coalition wanted to attack Earth. Several species advocated for peaceful contact, but they were overruled by the dominant military faction. That could be useful, Mason said thoughtfully. What else can you find? For the next hour, they downloaded everything they could from the alien databases: technical specifications, communication protocols, fleet movements, and most valuable of all, command codes. "We need to move," Rivera warned, checking his watch. "More coalition ships will come looking for these scouts soon." As they prepared to leave, Mason paused by the unconscious aliens. In another life, under different circumstances, perhaps humans and these beings could have been friends. Maybe they still could be. "Let's go," he said finally. Back aboard the Phoenix, the team worked frantically to repair damage from the power surge while incorporating their new intelligence. The Coalition scout ship had been a treasure trove of information, giving them insights they never could have discovered on their own. "Their fleet is gathering in Earth orbit," Mason told the leadership team, showing the data they had retrieved. "They're preparing for the final attack when the deadline expires tomorrow." "What's our plan?" Rivera asked. "Even with the repairs, we can't beat them in a straight fight." "We're not going to," Mason replied. "We're going to use their own systems against them." He outlined his strategy. Using the command codes they had stolen, they would mimic coalition signals to create confusion in their ranks. The Phoenix would approach the massive Dominion flagship under cover of this chaos, deploy specialized disruptors, and target the command structure. "It's not about destroying their fleet," Mason explained. "It's about disrupting their chain of command long enough to deliver a message." Emma looked skeptical. "What message?" "That humans aren't as easy to conquer as they thought." As Earth's deadline approached, governments worldwide prepared for surrender. Most believed resistance was futile against such overwhelming technology. They didn't know about the Phoenix, hiding in the Pacific and preparing for one desperate mission. Mason stood on the bridge, watching his crew work. In the past few hours, they had transformed the ship. Coalition technology had been more fully integrated with Earth systems. The power fluctuations were under control. Weapons were online, though limited. Most importantly, they had communication systems that could mimic coalition signals perfectly. "Fleet status?" Mason asked. Lisa studied her screen. "Coalition ships moving into attack formation. The Dominion is coordinating from high orbit." "Our status?" Emma checked the ship's systems. "Power at 85%. Shields at 60%. Weapons at 40%. Enough for 1 or 2 good shots. Special packages ready for deployment." These special packages were Emma's creation. Repurposed satellites loaded with disruptive technology designed to scramble coalition communications. "Prepare for launch," Mason ordered. "Stealth mode until we're in position." The Phoenix rose from the ocean, its systems running as quietly as possible. Unlike the hasty escape days before, this launch was controlled and deliberate. The ship's makeshift stealth systems, combined with coalition technology, rendered it nearly invisible to standard scans. They climbed through the atmosphere, the blue sky gradually darkening to the black of space. Earth spread out below them, beautiful and vulnerable. "Coalition fleet in visual range," Lisa reported. Through the main viewport, Mason could see them, dozens of silver ships arranged in perfect formation around the Dominion. The flagship was enormous, at least 10 times the size of any other vessel. "Begin transmission," Mason ordered. Emma activated the communication system they had built using stolen coalition technology, transmitting false retreat orders now. The effect was almost immediate. Several smaller coalition ships broke formation, moving away from their assigned positions. Confusion spread through the fleet as contradictory orders followed. "It's working," Rivera said with surprise in his voice. "Launch disruption packages," Mason ordered. The Phoenix released 12 small satellites, each programmed to further scramble coalition communications by broadcasting on their secure frequencies. As they activated, more coalition ships began moving erratically, unable to distinguish real orders from false ones. "Take us in closer to the Dominion," Mason said. "Prepare main weapons." The Phoenix moved toward the massive flagship, still partially obscured by the chaos they had created. They were halfway there when everything changed. "We've been detected," Lisa shouted. "The Dominion is scanning us directly." A beam of intense energy shot from the flagship, striking the Phoenix. The ship shuddered violently. "Shields down to 30%, Emma reported. "They've adapted to our signal disruption." Another blast hit them, even more powerful than the first. Warning lights flashed across the bridge as systems failed. "Engines hit," Rivera called from engineering. "We're losing power." "Return fire," Mason ordered. The Phoenix fired its main weapon, a hybrid of Earth missiles and Coalition energy technology. The blast struck the Dominion, but its powerful shields absorbed the impact with barely a flicker. "No effect," Lisa reported grimly. A third hit from the Dominion sent the Phoenix spinning. Life support systems failed across half the ship. The bridge filled with smoke as consoles overloaded. "We can't take another hit like that," Emma said, working frantically to reroute power. Mason looked at the massive Coalition flagship through the cracked viewport. They had come so far, risked so much, only to fail at the final moment. Or had they? "Emma," he said suddenly, "is the handshake ready?" Emma's eyes widened. The handshake was theoretical. We never had time to test it. "Is it ready?" She hesitated, then nodded. "The basic program is loaded. But Jack, it's a one-way trip. We'd have to get much closer to the Dominion." Mason looked at his crew, brave, brilliant people who had accomplished the impossible. "Then that's what we'll do." He took the helm controls himself as the Dominion prepared to fire again. "All power to engines. We're going in." The Phoenix raced toward the Dominion, trailing debris and venting atmosphere from its damaged hull. Coalition weapons fire flashed past them as smaller enemy ships tried to intercept, but Mason's piloting, erratic and unpredictable, kept them moving forward. "Distance to target?" Mason asked, his hands tight on the controls. 2,000 meters in closing, Lisa reported. "Their weapons are charging for another shot." "Emma, status on the handshake." Emma was hunched over her station, fingers flying across the keyboard. "Program loaded. I need to be within 500 meters to deploy." The handshake was Emma's most brilliant and dangerous creation, a complex program that could infiltrate Coalition systems through their own communication networks. Unlike a crude virus or simple hack, the handshake was designed to introduce itself as a friendly system, then gradually take control. It was named for the way it would gently shake hands with alien technology rather than attacking it outright. "Rivera, can you give me more speed?" Mason called to engineering. "I'm rerouting emergency power now." Rivera's voice came back strained. "But Captain, the engines are close to overload." A blast from a Coalition cruiser caught the Phoenix's left side, sending it spinning. Mason fought with the controls as warning alarms blared across the bridge. Life support failing in sections 3 through 6. Lisa called out, "Hull breach on deck 2. "Seal it off," Mason ordered. "Everyone, hold on." He pushed the Phoenix into a steep dive, then pulled up sharply, disorienting the tracking systems of the Coalition ships. The maneuver brought them directly toward the underside of the massive Dominion. 1,000 meters, Lisa counted down. 800. A massive energy beam shot from the Dominion, barely missing them. 700 meters. "They're preparing to fire again," warned Rivera. 600 meters. "Emma, stand by," Mason said, his voice steady despite the chaos. 500 meters in 3, 2, 1. "Now," Emma shouted, activating the handshake. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, throughout the Dominion, lights flickered. Its weapons powered down mid-charge. "It's working," Emma whispered in disbelief. "The handshake is connecting to their systems." On the view screen, Mason could see confusion spreading through the Coalition fleet. Some ships stopped moving entirely. Others drifted out of formation. "What exactly is happening?" Mason asked. Emma's eyes were fixed on her screen, watching data flow. The handshake isn't destroying their systems. It's convincing them to join us. Their technology is highly adaptive, designed to sync with other systems. We're using that against them. Coalition communication chatter increased dramatically, the musical language now sounding urgent and alarmed. The Dominion's central systems are resisting, Emma reported. They have better protection than we anticipated. Mason saw his opening. Take us closer. Let's dock directly with their command deck. Dock. Rivera stared at him. Are you insane? The handshake needs direct access to their main systems, Emma explained, understanding Mason's plan. From there, we can complete the infiltration. All power to forward shields, Mason ordered. We're going in. The Phoenix accelerated toward the Dominion's command section. The massive ship fired defensive weapons, but many failed to activate properly as the handshake spread through its systems. Impact in 10 seconds, Lisa warned. Brace for collision. Mason aimed for what looked like a docking port on the side of the command deck. Come on, old girl, he muttered to the Phoenix. One last push. At the last moment, something unexpected happened. The Dominion's shields parted, creating an opening exactly where the Phoenix was headed. Its docking bay doors opened. They're letting us in, Rivera said in disbelief. Emma checked her readings. The handshake is working at a deeper level than I expected. Parts of their system are already cooperating with us. The Phoenix slid into the Dominion's docking bay, coming to rest with a screech of metal on metal. Emergency clamps engaged automatically, securing the human vessel to the alien flagship. Prepare boarding party, Mason ordered, grabbing his weapon. Emma, Rivera, Lisa, you're with me. We need to reach their command center and complete the handshake protocol. As they moved to the airlock, Emma handed out small devices. Attach these to any terminals you find. They'll help the handshake spread faster. The team stepped from the Phoenix onto the Dominion, weapons ready. Unlike the scout ship, this vessel was fully operational. Lights pulsed along the corridors in patterns that seemed almost like a heartbeat. The air had a strange, sweet smell. They encountered Coalition crew members, but the aliens seemed disoriented, their movements sluggish. Some watched the humans pass with all four eyes wide, but made no move to stop them. The handshake is affecting their systems and their tech, Emma explained quietly. Remember how their suits seemed integrated with their bodies? They're experiencing the equivalent of digital vertigo. Following Emma's tracking device, they made their way through the massive ship toward its heart. The corridors grew wider, the ceiling higher. Finally, they reached a set of massive doors that slid open at their approach. Inside was the Dominion's command center, a vast circular room with a holographic display of Earth and the surrounding space at its center. Coalition officers worked at stations around the perimeter, while a single, taller alien stood on a central platform. That must be the commander, Mason whispered. The tall alien turned toward them. Unlike the others, this one showed no signs of disorientation. Its four eyes focused sharply on the human intruders. I am Admiral Vex, it said in perfect English, surprising them all. You are the humans who built a ship from broken parts, who turned our own technology against us. Mason stepped forward, weapon still ready. We are. An impressive achievement, Vex said, its voice neither friendly nor hostile. One that should not have been possible. Humans are good at doing the impossible, Mason replied, especially when our survival depends on it. Admiral Vex studied them. My military faction believed your species too primitive to deserve consideration. It seems we were mistaken. Emma moved to a nearby terminal, attaching one of her devices. The holographic display flickered, then steadied. Throughout the command center, Coalition officers stopped working, watching the confrontation. You came to deliver a message, Vex said. I am listening. Mason lowered his weapon slightly. The message is simple. Earth will not surrender. But we don't need to be enemies. You suggest an alternative. An actual coalition, Mason said. One where humans and your species work together instead of against each other. We've already proven what we can do with just scraps of your technology. Imagine what we could achieve as partners. Vex was silent for a long moment. Around them, the ship's systems seemed to pulse in rhythm with the handshake program, now fully integrated into the Dominion's network. Your solution is unexpected, Vex finally said. The more peaceful factions of the coalition will be interested in this proposal. The holographic display shifted, showing the coalition fleet standing down, weapons powering off. A ceasefire, Vex announced, while we discussed terms. 3 months later, Mason stood on a platform beside the Phoenix, now permanently docked in what had once been the Pacific ship graveyard. The area had been transformed into a joint human coalition research center, where scientists from both species worked to understand each other's technology and culture. The Phoenix itself had become a symbol, its mismatched hull and jury-rigged systems preserved exactly as they had been during the mission. School children and coalition younglings alike toured the vessel, learning about the day humans built a warship from junk and changed the course of history. Emma, now leading a joint technology team, joined Mason at the railing. Still hard to believe it worked, she said. Which part? Mason asked with a smile. The junk ship, the handshake, or convincing a race of super-advanced aliens to be our friends? All of it. She looked out at the research center, where humans worked alongside the blue-gray aliens. They thought humans couldn't win. We didn't win, Mason corrected her. We found a better option than winning or losing. He patted the Phoenix's scared hull. Sometimes the best ships are built from broken pieces. As the sun set over the Pacific, the Phoenix's hull gleamed golden in the fading light, a testament to humanity's greatest strength. The ability to build something extraordinary from whatever is at hand, even when facing impossible odds.